Welcome to this planning meeting on this day, 21st of September. Sorry for the very slight delay, late start to this meeting. Welcome councillors, welcome officers, members of the public. We don't have any members of the press here this evening. Let's start with the first item on the agenda, which is apologies for absence. Do we have any? No, we received none, but I see that Councillor Plant, do you know if we have Councillor Plant joining us? Right.
And I don't, you probably all are aware that Will's dad very sadly passed away yesterday. He was sorry to distract, but yeah, he was hoping he would make it till Christmas or just after, but passed away ahead of years.
Oh, please pass on our good wishes.
Yeah.
We'll have to alert Sheridan to this, I think.
Yeah.
If that's okay.
Yeah,
That's a good
I think
idea,
that
yeah. Item number 2, declarations of interest. Do we have any councillors? No, I see none.
Oh, yes.
And, oh, you do? Councillor
I don't know
Clark.
the number of it, but one of the applicants, I think Victoria Pierce said, one of them is a friend, so I won't talk to her.
Oh, okay, so you'll alert us when you get to it. You don't have the,
Yeah.
okay. Thank you. And the next item, minutes, number 3, to approve the minutes of the planning committee meeting held on the 31st of August. So, true record, yes, Councillor Gavishak, seconded by Councillor Plant, those in favour? Thank you, that's carried. Public participation. This is the time of the evening when we hear from any members of the public that would like to speak. Do we have any? Yes, hello. Would you like to stand up and tell us your name and which item you're speaking to?
Yes, I'm Lorraine Williamson, and I think you already I spoke to.
No, you would have spoken to Jodie, our planning officer. I'm Councillor Thomas.
And the application is the SO 599 5 Hill Street News.
5 Bell Street News. Okay. Yeah. Whenever you're ready, you have 2 to 3 minutes.
Yes, do I have to speak from here? Because I could.
You are welcome to speak from wherever you
I'd
wish.
like to use the end of the table.
Yes, of course.
I also have some things I'd like to hand out if that's possible.
Yes, of course. Yes.
Thank you.
Whenever you're ready.
No, yes, sure, right. No, I'll shoot from here. It's just like old time. Used to be a councillor.
Oh, fantastic.
As he knows full well.
Ken was probably still a councillor.
Fine, I'm Marie Williamson, I live number 2 Bell Street News, and I've lived there for 25 years since the news was built. And because it's a peculiar site, I've actually got 1 or 2 pictures which I've photocopied. If you want to look at them, you will see the reason why I'm opposing this planning application, for the simple reason that the bay window, which is there to be seen very faintly drawn in, is not wanted, it's not required, and there is an ulterior motive in it being included in the drawings. I'm not prepared to get into any of the background of that, because I don't think it applies to us tonight for the planning application. But forgive me for sort of doing this, but I really can I just circulate it? If you just see here, this is the corner. There are 2 garages here. The window in the corner, that garage is the one that is just proposed will be taken out and made into a bay window. Okay?
Yes.
This is taken, and these are taken from my bathroom window in this corner, and you can see the alleyway which we have to drive up into, and that corner is where we are allowed, because we own the land, the 5 households own that piece of land equally. We all own our properties as freeholders. But the problem is that this is very narrow here indeed, and I have to reverse into my parking spot in the corner because it's very narrow and I can only get in reverse. I also have a disabled driver's badge. I have a very small car. The other cars that park have a better access than I do, so they can maneuver better than I do. On the other hand, they all know that they don't want this bay window for the simple reason that if a transit van comes in delivering repair work or decorators materials to any of the properties, They are going to be absolutely flummoxed by the bay window that's there.
Okay.
Please, have a
Thank you.
quick look, do what you're doing. I don't want to delay you. On the other hand, the other thing that I also feel I should draw your attention to, which I've got a copy of, is the fact that in the planning consent of 1997, and again, I've done 1 or 2 copies, again, it's important to know that our Tony Lane, as was, told me when I bought my property in 1997, when we were brand new, that he had opposed the development entirely because he didn't think there were satisfactory arrangements for vehicles to come in and out. I don't know whether Ken would remember whether he was even on the council then or not.
I'm not on.
No, you were. So either way, he did not know I had bought a property at the time, but he told me that this was constructed specifically to protect the right of people to get in and out of the mews safely. But we don't believe now in the mews that that can happen because of the intrusive nature of this bay window. But it says here that and I read it, you can all see it off the original document, that there should be room within the site for 8 cars. Well, immediately this planning application removes one of those cars straight away because the closure of the garage to make it into accommodation reduces the number to 7. So that is contravening what was agreed in 97, so that vehicles can turn in and out and leave in a forward gear. Then it says, and such parking and turning space shall be retained thereafter. Now, this applicant has paid no regard to any of the law behind this and the consent. I've approached him myself because I'm actually the secretary for the company, the Bell Street Management Company Limited, which manages the mews, because although we're all freeholders, the gates, the electrics, the uptake of the mutual floors we all drive over are part of the company for maintenance reasons. And therefore, I'm speaking on behalf of the 5 or the other 4 owners, other than him, the applicant, and he's an absentee owner as well. He doesn't have any experience of what it's like living in the mews. There are 2 tenants in the mews.
Would you mind summing up?
I will sum up.
Now. Thank you.
I would, for various reasons, I would like to add more. There are other legal things to do with the acquisition of the land he is imposing over with his bay window. It isn't his. It isn't his.
Sure.
And at the same time, there are negotiations going on with Blandy and Blandy to try to unscramble what he has contrived to acquire. So I really would like you to oppose this on the grounds I've spoken of. And the fact is that there is one disabled person whose vehicle with the special arrangements for his wheelchair and that just cannot maneuver in the space. And it will be an obstacle and a dangerous one because it's going to stick out, not a lot, but enough to make people swerve away and perhaps have a collision with another vehicle. Please think of it very carefully and come and see it working anytime during daylight hours. Please do.
Thank
Go
you.
around.
Councillors, do you have any questions? Councillor Parts.
Just so on the deeds of this individual's person's property, the area to which he's planning to build on isn't on his deed.
Correct.
Councillor Gavishak.
You touched on the removal of the 1 space, so it goes from 8 to 7. Yes. How big is the thing sticking out?
Well, that's interesting because the measurements are not actually on the plans. You see, and the funny thing is that there is no reason to have a bay window there at all. There's nothing gained. You could have a flat window, but you want a bay window.
But if they had, but if there was a flat window, it would still lose the parking space.
No. You would lose the garage. Yes, definitely lose the garage, but it wouldn't interfere with the manoeuvrability of that parking space.
So what would your view be?
Fair enough.
If it was a flat window and it was a room rather than a garage, what would your view be?
Well, I have to say, if I was in this room, I'd be tempted to accept it, because it is actually allowed for in the consent that was quoted. There is a passage in the consent that the accommodation be retained, and if adapted for living purposes, it has to have planning permission first granted. So he has the actual right, in a sense, in the same consent statement that I'm quoting to you, which says that this space is to be left hereafter. The space for turning won't spoil it if he has a plan. It won't.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much
All
for
right.
coming. Thank you.
Does that mean I can go?
No,
Okay.
no, I've got a bit.
Oh,
I might have known.
Okay. Make it quick, please.
The wall there, just here,
Oh, that's a
the
nuisance.
wall, there's car park spaces behind there, isn't there?
Yes.
Are any of those spaces for the muse?
No.
They're not. Where they're on about putting the window in, and I personally don't think it comes out very wide, but that's my personal opinion. Where does he park his two cars there?
Well, the fact of the matter is that the previous owner purchased the remnants of Chris Messenger's business site. You remember Chris Messenger, the solicitor, had office at the gates, and he owned all of that parking, which you see when you come in through the gates on the left-hand
That's what I
side.
was referring to.
Chris Messenger owned all of that,
Yeah.
and when he had the property converted into flats, he kept two spaces, a tandem space, back for his own personal use, to go to the theatre, to go, etc., etc. Then when a certain lady called Heather Brennan bought number 5, or her children did, she persuaded Chris to sell that tandem space and take 2 cars in tandem.
That's what last
And
question said.
she has now sold it on to the new buyer, but it is not part of the same ownership deed. It's
Oh,
separate.
yeah, the point I'm making is he has 2 spaces.
Yes, he has.
Okay.
But let me just add here quickly that we do know that he would be able not to have to dispose of those spaces if he sold the house, because it is a separate deed of ownership. It doesn't go with the house forever at all.
Thank you.
All right? Can I go home?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, if you want to, yes. It's up to
It's
you.
lovely being here, but I'm sure you can hear I've got a very rusty voice and I need my supper. But thank you for being so patient, all of you.
Thank
Anyway,
you.
eat my cake, I don't mind.
Okay, let's move to plans amended, please. Next. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Luckett. I'm very sorry. Please go ahead. I thought you normally say no every time I look at you, and the one time I don't look at you, you want to speak.
Jeff Blackett, Kevin Society, Tottenham. I'd like to speak to the 18 Harcourt Close application, which councillors will know is a replacement application. The one that was turned down some months ago by SODC following a site visit. We looked at the new plans. We can see nothing in them that would cause us to change our mind. And therefore we hope that you'll refuse these plans or recommend refusal. We would clearly like this matter to be decided by councillors at SOPC as opposed to the officers who were prepared to nod through the last application, even though it didn't match some of SODC's own rules. What councillors may not know is that none of the people who objected to the previous application were notified about this one. And so I got in touch with SODC this morning, Paul Lucas, the case officer, and asked why they haven't been alerted. And he came back very promptly in his favour and said it was a total oversight on behalf of the staff, and he would make sure that all the complainants from last time got notification. And I noticed on the portal tonight, on the planning portal, that all the addresses are listed of the people who have now been alerted. Well, this is a heads up really to say there's only one neighbour's objection on the portal at the moment. But please accept that
expects a lot.
Thank you. Any questions? No? Okay. Right, plans amended, please, councillors. Let's go to page 13.
Yeah.
Page 11.
It's on plans new already.
Beg your pardon. I need to get my eyes tested. I was saying that at work today. I really need to get my eyes tested. Right, okay, page 11, apologies, councillors. Right, plans amended. P21 SO 726 is the listed building application for 21 to 23 Hart Street. Councillors. Or would you like to speak first? No. Councillor Plants? Who seconded by Councillor Gavashak? Would any other
Same
councillor?
same as before. Thank
Would
you.
any other councillor like to speak? No, I see none. Okay, let's put this to the vote then. All those in favour of approval? Thank you, that's carried. And the next item on the agenda, I'll take with item number 3 on this application. P21 S3125 is a household application, 15 Hop Gardens, and it goes together with P21 S3126 listed building application. Jodie, would you like to speak to this one?
Yeah, so the committee recommended refusal last time due to the proposed porch. The amended plans show that this has been removed, so the objection has been removed as well.
Thank you, Councillor Plant.
Approval. That was Ken's porch. He liked it. He liked it this time. So approval this time.
Councillor Gavashak.
I'll second that. Yes, they listened to the committee and it should be recognised. So, yeah, thank you.
Councillor.
No, I should vote against it. Through the glass.
Would any other councillor like to speak? I actually noted, councillors, that highways and forestry had some concerns about this actual application. Is that still the case? You're not reading the same as I'm reading. No?
There was another application for forestry plans, but yeah, not this one.
They're talking about the lots of parking. Okay, all right, well, would any other councillor like to speak? No, let's put this to the vote. Any of those in favour of approval? Thank you, that's carried. Okay, let's turn to the next item on the agenda, which is plans new on page 13. And we have P21 S3313. It's a full application for 9 at Makins Road. Any proposals, councillor Gavashak?
I know about this planning application because Labour in Lovell Close actually contacted me about 3 weeks ago, and I alerted the planning department. And the reason why we've got the planning application is this. I'm in a bit of a quandary about this in terms of it shoehorning a small dwelling on to the back of the site. Basically what it is you've got an existing house with a shed at the bottom of the garden. That is being converted into a dwelling, small dwelling. I'm in a bit of a quandary as to whether to oppose it, because we do need small dwellings in Henley, or approve it. But what we must do if we approve it is remove the planning rights for second story and make sure that there are no windows overlooking 30 or close, and make sure there's no further development if planning happens. So that I'll make that as a proposal. I propose that we approve, but it must be strictly subject to the removal of any planning rights in future development.
Is that seconded?
No.
Are you seconded?
I'll second it.
Okay, right, so it's been seconded. Would any other councillor like to speak? Councillor
Well,
Plant?
no, I'll put this one to the vote. No, I'd go for refusal. I think this sets a slippery slope. Whenever we take planning applications for garages and all these kind of secondary buildings with a plot, we're always so keen as a council councils that are only necessarily not to be used as a dwelling. This very much is one of those where we're then allowing it to happen at a point. It's, highways have an objection to it. It's going to allow parking that goes halfway out over a pavement. I think it's a no.
Thank you. Yes, councillor Arlott.
Yeah, I wasn't looking at those reasons. In my view, it's a shed and it's still a shed with a few petitions in it. And it's not a house. It's not a bungalow. It's a shed. So if the applicant wished to come back with a detailed drawing for a house or a bungalow, I may well support it, but at the moment, they're just trying to get permission to put some petitions in a shed. Isn't a house, so they're not really applying for a house because it's a shed. So,
Well, with the permission of my seconder, I'll withdraw it because I was in a quandary as to whether to.
Commissioner Ross.
Right, so I withdraw it and I'll let Lawrence make a proposal.
All right,
if he
thank you,
wishes to.
councillor Plant, your
Thank
proposal, please.
Oh yeah, for refusal, you can combine mine and Ken's and go for Ken, whichever Joe you can remember.
And councillor Arlott is seconding. Okay, but thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? No, I see none, so let's go to the vote then. All those in favour of refusal? That's carried, thank you. Okay, next in line is P21 S3558. It's a householder application for Broom House, Marlow Road. Yes, councillor Gavesha.
I am going to recommend refusal on this because the forestry officer has said that he is not happy with the application. So on those grounds alone, I propose refusal.
Okay, thank you. Is that seconded?
This is not what I speak to.
We have a seconder. Yes, sorry, councillor Raymond, thank you. Glasses. Would any other councillor like to speak? Councillor Arlott.
yeah, this is a kind of a nothing application. It's not that big. I don't see it damaging anything at all personally. As I say, if there was to be any damage, we have the forest officer there. But I couldn't support it on refusal for what councillor Gavesha was proposing. I support the second.
You could go approve subject to the agricultural study here.
But I won't support the proposal.
Okay, thank you. Right, so do we have any other councillors? Yes, councillor Buckley.
I was just trying to understand, because there is in the supporting documentation some information from our tree specialist.
Yes, yeah.
And I was just trying to figure out whether that's sufficient or not. I haven't got enough experience to read through it and say whether they were proven or not. But if there's no supporting evidence, then I'd be against it.
Yeah, sure. Would any other councillor like to speak? Not on this one. I mean, my own view is that we should go for, I would go for approval subject to satisfaction of the forestry officer. I'm sure it's something that can be sorted out between the applicant and the forestry officer.
That is what the forestry officer has said, basically.
Yeah. Right, so do we have a motion for approval? It's been seconded. Or is it for
No,
refusal?
refusal.
Okay, refusal.
Can I
Right.
sum up?
Yes.
The reason why I'm going to stick with my proposal for refusal is because we don't know what the arboricultural, we all stumble over that. Well, the tree officer's report is going to say. So therefore we can't actually say approval subject to, because the tree officer clearly actually said no until an arboricultural report comes forward. So therefore, I'm sorry, I'm going to stick to my guns on this particular one. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments before we put this to the vote?
No, I've summed up, so.
Oh, I'm very
So they can't.
Would the seconder like to
I think it's more
say
relaxed
anything?
than different.
I don't have any further value to add to this.
Okay, right, let's put this to the vote then. All those in favour of refusal, please raise your hands.
Refusal of approval.
Refusal.
Refusal.
Sorry.
And all those in favour?
Against refusal.
Against refusal,
Oh.
otherwise that's goes on the proposal.
Hold on, let's just go to the start. Okay. All those in favour of refusal, please raise your hands. And all those voting the other way. That's carried. Right.
Yeah, it was 4,
Yeah.
3
I don't
abstained.
There's only 3 left, so.
Yes, that's carried.
Yeah, it's heard.
Carried. Thank you. I'll change my mind halfway through as well. Okay, right, let's go to the next one, which is P21 S3620. It's a householder application and it's 74 Deanfield Road. Councillors, any observations? Yes, Councillor Plant.
I was going to go for a refusal on this one. I just think it's a little excessive, pretty unneighbourly, and he's going to provide a loss of privacy for those around it. Maybe it's a close call, but mine would refuse this one.
Thank you. Is that seconded? Yes, Councillor Buckley, thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? Yes, Councillor
Yeah, I'm
Roberts.
going to speak against it. The 2-storey extension is not all that wide at the back. I don't think there's any damage whatsoever. There's no problem with the other bits and pieces with the application, but I don't see any damage there to the neighbours, what's already there. So I won't support.
Okay, thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? Councillor Buckley.
So you've got plans, the current way of building set up, there's no windows at the side. And the way they've got this extension, they're not put additional windows into the building. So I think from that perspective, if you look at the way those houses are set up, you've got 2 side by side. On one side, there's looking onto the neighbour's property. There's not, well, there's literally a gap that size. So putting windows in there doesn't necessarily make sense. But if you look at the other side, those houses are behind the gardens, and there's windows then out on somebody's property. And that's for that reason. I wasn't, 1-storey extension possibly, but 2 stories didn't seem right.
Okay, so you're minded about privacy. Yeah. Would any other councillors like to speak? Okay, no, I see none. So let's put this to the vote then. All those in favour of refusal? All those against? Okay, that's carried. Thank you. Right, let's go to P21 S3638, and it's a full application, and it's the Orchard 17 Rotherfield Road. I'll refer to Jodie for this one first.
I didn't have any objections.
Thank you. Councillor Gavishak.
I propose acceptance. It's a big plot, it's a big house, but it's ticks all the boxes, so fine, thank you.
Thank you. Is that seconded? Thank you, Councillor Plant. Any other councillor like to speak?
Didn't we approve this already?
Yeah, it's just a variation condition, so that it's already been approved. It's just
Quite straightforward. Yeah. Okay, let's go for the vote then. All those in favour of approval? Thank you, that's carried. Next, we've got P21 S3657. It's a householder application and it's for 92 Northfield End. Councillor Plant.
Approval, very straightforward.
That's seconded by Councillor
Seconded,
Gavishak.
yes.
Would any other councillor like to speak? No, let's go for the vote then. All those in favour of approval? Thank you, that's carried. And we've got P21 S3671. It's a householder application and it's 33 Makins Road. Councillor Gavishak.
I'm going to speak very strongly against this application. This is, well, in my words, a monster extension that extends way beyond the back of the property. The neighbour's garden is here, and we've got this monster extension coming way out into the back garden, back to a big height. There's also an additional reason is that at the back there is a lifted what's it called?
Raised patio?
raised terrace, actually,
Sorry.
which is again this high. So you can stand on it and look over the neighbour's garden. So actually strong objection. It's overdevelopment. It's intrusive to the neighbours. Committee will refuse it, please. Thank you.
Is that seconded? Yeah. Okay, thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? Councillor Arlott?
I honestly don't see what councillor Gavashak says, but I understand where he's coming from. It's a single story application. Most people have a 6-foot fence there, whatever the height of their raised patio. There's numerous applications gone with approval down there, around that area. There's 2 or 3 have dormers in the roof, etc., etc. And I think this is well below some of the other ones that we've recommended for approval. So I won't be voting against this.
Thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak?
I was just trying to get it in my head. Are you thinking of the Elizabeth Road one or is it that one?
Actually, the patio at the back, yes, is the Elizabeth Road, yeah, so strike that comment. The other comments.
Yeah, it's that. Yeah, I mean, I think it's quite pretty, isn't it?
Okay, right. So if there's no further discussion, let's put this to the vote then. We've got a motion for refusal and it's been seconded. All those in favour? And all those against? Okay, so that's fallen. Let's go for another proposal.
I think approve. I don't think it's unnamed or over there. I think the design is maybe not sensitive, but it's single story, so very little impact. So approval.
That's it.
Thank you. Any other comments, observations? No, okay, let's put this to the vote then. All those in favour of approval? Again, over those against? Okay, that's carried. Didn't need my vote again, did you? Didn't need my chair's vote for that one. 4 and 3 against. Okay, let's move on to P21 S3733, and it's a household application for 5 Bell Street News. Councillors, any proposals? Councillor Plants?
Surely this is pretty straightforward. If they put in a planning application, piece of land, they don't know. It's
As far as I'm aware, boundary disputes are not a material planning consideration. Am I correct?
If it's on land that they don't own, they have to put out a certificate that shows that they notified the neighbours. On this application, they haven't done that. It's a certificate due.
Right, thank you for that
I
clarification.
don't think
Why
it's
like
worth
that?
us considering it to make it come back. Well, obviously consider it as a refusal, but I don't think it's worth considering as anything else. Otherwise, we'd be proving something, taking a piece of land that we don't know.
Okay, would any other councillor like to speak? You're going for a refusal, councillor Plants?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Is that seconded? Let's go seconded first, councillor. Thank you, Leila. Thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak?
Yeah, I know the area really well. I haven't got information in front of me on who owns what on that car park area there. I would imagine if someone's got a garage door there, one would consider that they could either park in front of it or use it whenever they wish to. I'm sorry, but I don't see how a bay window is going to affect that property at all. And it does show that it's going to have obscure glass on one side of it, which will overlook the other neighbour. But I haven't got any other information in front of me, and I didn't see anything on the plan application online to show anything like that. Although I listened to what Mrs. Williams said.
Thank you. Councillor Gavashak?
Well, I'm going to support the refusal of this. And the reason is that if the applicant came back, as was spoken in public session, with a flat window, then it would be okay. But it is actually a protruding window into the car parking space, so I can see that it does make that difference. So we should refuse this and hope that the applicant listens and comes back with more suitable proposals.
Okay, thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? No, okay, I see none, so let's put this to the vote then. We've got the motion is for refusal and it's been seconded. All those in favour of refusal?
What reason?
We've got would you like to sum up?
Oh, it's land ownership, loss of parking, invasion of communal space.
And including the turning space.
Highways.
The highways.
Yeah.
Plus, it would, if we go on the fact that the parking spaces are no longer allocated to the house on deed, we're agreeing to have a property with effectively no use of our parking. We wouldn't do that on any application that came forward to us as a council at the moment.
Okay, right, let's, we've heard the summing up, let's go for the vote then. We've got a motion for refusal, it's been seconded. All those in favour of that refusal? All those against? That's carried.
Abstain, I might wish to take it to the district council.
Okay, that is noted. That is your right.
Did we deal with 92 North Road then? Did I miss that?
That was like a Northwich defeat.
Yeah, we do.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
It was unanimous, Ken.
Okay, last one on this page is P21 S3749 and it's a householder application. And it's for 59 Elizabeth Road. Councillor Gavishak.
Right, well, I'm glad the committee didn't listen to my heap of garbage I was spoken about 33 making growth. Completely out of
Are you
it.
going to regurgitate it now?
So I am going to regurgitate it now. It was this that I was speaking to. There's a big lump out the back of the garden and there's a huge wall and also there's the raised terraced area. I've got it now, I've got the word raised terraced area, which would afford overlooking into the neighbour's garden. So no, and I hope the committee supports it. Thank you.
Is that seconded? Yes, of course,
The
Jodie.
description says it's a single story rear extension, doesn't state about the terrace, so did you want to point that out rather? Because you're objecting to something that's not actually for the planning application.
Well, it's a single story out the back
And
with
then-
the terraced area stuck on the end.
So you're not objecting to the single story extension?
No, I am.
Oh, you
I am.
are?
I am.
Okay,
I'm objecting to the extension and the
okay,
terrace.
okay.
Yeah, thank you. May I have a seconder for refusal? Councillor Buckley, thank you. Okay, let's hear from the other councillors. Yes, Councillor Plant.
Not living directly next to it, but certainly looking at the plans, I actually made my notes that this is a fairly minor development. I didn't think it was going to be contentious at all. You know, the single story extension is already there, pretty much in the form of half greenhouse orangery type structure anyway, isn't it? Going out to time. I'm surprised they even need to put into planning for such a small development, but
Councillor Arlott.
Yeah, what I looked at is that it's a single story extension to a bungalow. That's probably why it's not 2-story. There are so many bungalows around there that have massive extensions. You know, so much more than this one. This to me is trivial to some of the extensions. You know, dare I say, mine is a prime example. But they're just so big, the extensions that have taken place. And this is seriously, this is to me, it's not. I just couldn't refuse this. I couldn't vote for a refusal on this one.
Sorry, we're just checking something.
yeah, there's one from 61.
We've got one neighbour objection.
Jane Smart.
From number 61. Yeah, got an objection from number 61.
She points out the wall needs repointing as well.
Okay, right, so we've got a motion for refusal. It's been seconded and councillor Arlott has already spoken. Would any other councillor like to speak before we put this to the vote? No, I see none. Let's put this to the vote then. All those in favour of refusal? All those against refusal? Yeah. Sounds right, I say that. And you
There's a
abstaining?
decision on this one, yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Toss a coin.
Okay, that's fallen.
That's fallen.
Councillor Hart.
Approved.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Would any other council like to speak again? No? Let's put this to
No,
the
I've
vote then.
spoken enough.
All those in favour of approval?
You do a lot better when I'm over there.
It's because he's already twisted his arm.
All those against and one abstention. Okay, that's carried. Thank
Honourable.
you. I have got a little question mark on that one. I've got a little overdevelopment question mark.
Oh, it's got a minor question.
Isn't it?
You're very wise, Chair.
Still voting for it.
Yeah, you're persuasive. Right, let's go to page 14, please. P21 S3787. It's a household application, 85 Deanfield Road. Councillor Plant.
Approval.
Seconded. Councillor Babishak, thank you.
I just want to be on the winning side. Not-
This is much like the previous one, actually.
Would any other councillor like to speak? No? Okay, let's go for the vote then. All those in favour of approval? That's carried, thank you. P21 S3790 is a household application for 13 Walton Avenue. Councillor Gavishak,
Propose acceptance.
seconded. Councillor Plant?
Yep.
Would any other councillor like to speak? No, I see none. Let's put this to the vote then. All those in favour of approval? Okay, and against? It's carried, thank you. And the next is P21 S3826. It's a full application for 18 Harcourt Close. I'm going to ask Jodie to speak to this.
Thank you. So this follows planning application being refused by SADC in 2020. Oh no, it's 2021. Sorry.
Yeah.
June this year. This is a very similar application to what was refused. You recommended refusal on the grounds of being overdevelopment, also concerns about overlooking impact on the community of the neighbouring property, sunlight, daylight, and also concerns about parking. So I don't think they've addressed these concerns within this new application. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Plant.
Just copy and paste, basically. Simple. I don't need to restate everything that you said already. And I think it's a real shame because it's one that we had really strong public participation in last time, and we've had a good representation from both the street there on and the one behind it. So I think it's an underhand trick that they haven't heard. Maybe it's an accident, maybe it's not. I'm more cynical than that. But I think it's refused.
Thank you. Seconded, councillor Gavishak.
Yeah, I'll just speak briefly. I mean, my notes are no, God, no. Not on this particular one. I mean, real panic. I will speak on this one. The last time this came forward, Councillor Arler was indisposed, and I substituted for him on the district council. I went to the site visit, and it was a very, very positive site visit and a very positive meeting. It was unanimously rejected by SADC. And there's absolutely no change on this. They should really strongly get the message. And I will certainly be going over to SADC to speak against this. I assume Councillor Arlott won't speak tonight because I think this is not a call in. It's completely and utterly wrong. They already have planning permission. They should just build it out. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we have a motion for refusal. It's been seconded. Would any other councillor like to speak? No, let's put this to the vote then. All those in favour of refusal? And all those abstaining? Thank you, that's
Can
carried.
we just thank, obviously, Jeff Rabbit for bringing back to our notice, so anyway, to Paul Bruce's notice.
We did actually notice it ourselves this
Yeah.
afternoon, Jodie and I, so that was, but thank you so much.
Was that
for
because
your
I sent the
contribution.
email to you?
No, we actually flagged it before, thank you very much.
Associated with this, has that really happened about the destruction of the rainforest? The
We're still looking into
trees
that, aren't we? Well, the town clerk comes back tomorrow.
That's been followed up, is it?
Do you have it in your diary to speak to the town clerk about that? Because Parks have already commented on it, but
It's definitely not our land.
it's not our land.
I haven't spoken to Carl, Parks Manager, about whether he's had any further conversation with the landowner. We do talk to the landowner, obviously.
I think we should,
follow that up.
just a comment, I think perhaps we should get in touch with the tree officer at SODC, just to see if they can have a look at that site for us. Do you agree?
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
okay, let's do
Yes.
that. Let's get Joe on the case.
Want me to do that?
Yeah.
I'm just pointing out that I'll need to update our comments from last time with reference to the local plan.
Yeah.
So we just call it in, update it.
Right, so we haven't finished Plan to New yet. Let's go on to the last item on here, which is P21 S3881, and it's a listed building application for 9 Friday Street. Councillor Gabishak,
Rose acceptance.
seconded by Councillor Clark. Okay, thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? No, let's put this to the vote then. All those in favour of approval? Thank you, that's carried. Okay, let's move to the next item on the agenda, which is item 7. We've got objections and calling applications, please. Do you have any? Councillor Gabishak?
Well, 18 Harcourt Close. Oh, one else. No. No, yeah, just that one. We don't want to overwork our district council.
You really want us to talk to that one, yeah, but to terrace as well. So,
Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda is number 8, which is decision notices. Just to note those on pages 15 to 17. I noticed that SODC backed us up on the 2 refusals. Quite refreshing to get them their supports. Okay, and next item on the agenda is number 9, the Oxfordshire Plan 2050. I'm going to ask Jodie to speak to this, and then what I think I'll do is make a proposal to you all and see what you think about the proposal. Jodie.
Thank you. So yeah, this is a really large document. That's in front of you, isn't it? So this,
So we just say one of the planning decisions, 5 Bell Street clearly put one in and withdrawn.
Yeah,
Kept it in under legal development. ODP. So it's noted. Which was the lady's case.
I'll carry on. So yeah, this sets out the long-term overarching high-level planning framework for Oxfordshire. So this will influence future local plans and neighbourhood plans. So it is an important document and it carries weight in. It would carry weight in planning applications. So yeah, it's the overarching role of the Oxfordshire approach to plan making. It's got 4 approaches looking at tackling climate change, improving environmental quality, and priorities for new infrastructure. And there's a lot of visions and objectives that are look to be affordable, but with the central theme of it being climate change. Looking specifically at sustainable design, construction, energy, water efficiency and flood risk. It also considers HGVs specifically and highlights that that's a policy gap at the moment. And the thing that causes concern is the housing numbers in here. It looks to meet, although it says it looks to meet Oxfordshire's housing needs, it is suggesting 4 different approaches and options. At the lowest scale, it's 102,000 new homes and up to 153,000 new homes. These growth options are all well above what ONS projections for Oxfordshire are, and some of them are triple that. So I'd suggest making representations to highlight the concerns that you do have there in terms of going for those higher numbers for housing, especially in rural parts of Oxfordshire. I think that's the main thing I just wanted to highlight, really.
Yeah, thank you. So do you have any questions for Jodie before I put my proposal to you all? No. Okay. So what I'm proposing, councillors, is that Jodie does actually, is it in the form of a questionnaire or is it just a feedback form?
Is it just the website where you can make comments on it?
Yeah, it's not.
There's 3 different ways you can make comments.
Yeah, it's not really that clear in terms of the website. I think it's just an open.
Yeah, it's easy to
Comment.
navigate.
I think
but
it's
just
yeah,
like a
comments.
Facebook comment section.
Yeah, I think
where
it's
you
just
can
an
say,
open comment.
yeah, so there's no like point by point,
Yeah.
open or closed questions.
It's not that
literally
kind of,
just
yeah,
It is a
freehand.
comment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, councillors, what I'm proposing to you is that our planning officer does actually put this together for us, and I can have a couple of volunteers to check it for us. But I think Jodie's going to need a steer from you all as to which way we're going to go with this. So if I go around the table briefly and get your thoughts and comments and observations, and then we can go from there. Councillor Park, would you like to start?
Yeah, it's huge, because even like the bit that always jumps up for me is straight to the affordable housing bit, but they've got a decent quantity of text on there themselves, so open questions in the end of it, but you could write reams in responses to all of these. It's not an easy thing to formulate simple, succinct answers to, but this would be, if we were to, as a council, create responses to each one of the 9 sections, and then subsequent subsections underneath that, this is going to be quite a large document, if that's what we were striving to do.
Yeah. Councillor Devonshire?
Therefore, I don't think we should do that. We shouldn't do an in-depth analysis of every single thing. We should go for the big vision things.
Let's just go around the table first, and then we'll have a discussion about
on the specifics. I would have to feed into Jodie my thoughts.
You don't. I mean, right. Let's go around the table first, and then decide what we're going to do with the information that other councillors give to us.
Sorry, I agree with Jodie drafting something, but then it can be circulated to us.
Yeah. Do you have any feel for? But Jodie needs some steer from us on what feedback she is going to give about to this consultation.
No, not at the moment.
No. Okay. Councillor Buckley.
I'm quite new to this, so I'm just going to listen for a little bit.
Okay.
See what happens.
Councillor Romans.
I'm just having a look through this website at the moment. I need some time to formulate a response. I mean, if we were to pick various topics and things we want to focus on, affordable housing would definitely be top of the list, followed by zero carbon energy. And I know what most people around here are going to say when I say this, but making best use of rail. What's rail?
What, train station?
Yeah.
I think Councillor Miller.
Affordable, absolutely. And yeah, affordable.
Thank you. Councillor Arlott.
I've only briefly looked through there, but I've obviously read Kester George's response, and Kester's obviously read every page thoroughly. I think who made the comment that Henry's was only mentioned once in the 100 pages, which is kind of worrying. So this is more of an Oxfordshire plan, rather than a local town plan. I personally get fed up reading these massive documents, which you spend a lot of time on, or I have in the past, and nobody takes any notice. And sadly, but that's a fact of life. So I've probably got nothing more to add than what's in there. You know, we just mentioned the affordable housing. You know, maybe the press will be listening in here. You know, we were talking about affordable housing, but you know, when it comes to younger people or Councillor Raymond's age on affordable housing,
Councillor Park's the same age as me.
and well, yeah, he hasn't mentioned affordable housing yet. But the thing is with this, you know, we have these exhibitions for the neighbourhood plan. I don't see any 20, 25, 30-year-olds coming to them. You know, we need to build affordable housing. If you build 20, you fill them tomorrow. If you build another 120, you fill them the day after. However many you build, you're going to fill them. There's no doubt about that whatsoever. But I'd like to see more representation to something like this from younger people. And you know, maybe somebody would listen, but I think personally from councils, we spend a lot of time on this, and I don't think many people over Oxfordshire will take a lot of notice on what we say. Sadly to say that.
Okay, that's the part.
What is the point of this document, and how is it going to sit alongside everything that we've already put on the joint Henley Upston neighbourhood plan on all these issues anyway? Are we just going to waste time commenting on a document and waste Jodie's time on a document that really bears little relevance to any hard future decisions?
Would you like to comment on that?
Yeah, so in terms of the issues that it's picked up on, we mainly picked up on the same things. So there's not much point just saying that to them. It's in terms of the framework moving forward. So the next local plan and the next neighbourhood plan would sit underneath this framework. So it is an important document for the future. And if there's any real concerns in terms of the overall strategy of housing, affordable housing, we should definitely highlight that now.
So we look at more a framework and structure, or problems with the individual topics? Because the structure is great. The areas they're looking at.
That's fine. It's the specifics really.
Can I give councillors a steer? I think what we really need to home in on is the housing targets, the housing growth targets that they've got in this plan. They've got 3 housing target trajectories in this one, and all 3 of them are over and above the government's own guidelines on how you actually deliver housing, the housing method that they have. So I think that has to be surely the premise for Henley and the other areas in Oxfordshire to comment. So for instance, if you look at, for instance, the Campaign for Rural England, who are a hugely respected group, they have put together a response paper to this, and they're effectively saying that even the first trajectory, which is the minimum amount of houses that they're actually suggesting, is going to be very, very difficult to deliver without causing harm to the rural nature of Oxfordshire as a county. So it's very laudable to say, we're going to look at transport, we're going to look at affordable, we're going to look at sustainability, we're going to look at ecology, biodiversity, and all these different areas. But how are you going to deliver those when you're actually looking at these sorts of targets? I think that's what we need to address in this paper. Any additions to that? Do you think? I mean, do you think that even the first?
Is it
the first is yes.
Where we see differences, because if you're looking at policies and plans that are in place already that are meant to stretch to a certain point in time, and this is putting in place a framework for what they want to do after this, and they're not even aligning to levels that are in this one. How can you judge? How can you judge what's
going to be happening?
So
in the next 30 years.
I think we hammer home the affordable. Lots of the comments on here are all about affordable. We've got brownfield sites, new buildings, lots of them state that the problem is overdevelopment of existing plots to make them even larger and even less affordable. Lots of the comments already on here are saying that Oxfordshire doesn't have a housing crisis, it's got an affordable housing crisis. This is one of those. And it is something that we are sensitive to. And we put a lot into that, but we still don't think the ratio of calculating affordable 80% of market value is anywhere near correct. And we hammer that home as our priority.
There's very, very little in the planning toolkit, if you like, to deliver affordable housing, and I think that's something that hopefully the new Minister for Housing will address. Okay, so just to sum up then, shall we just concentrate on these few areas that concern us that you've all raised this evening? The housing trajectories, the affordability. Do you want to mention anything about, I think, climate change, as we've actually declared a climate emergency. We're trying to deliver cycle paths and
They've got a lot of that.
routes, etc.
They've got a lot of sustainable communities, sustainable living.
So if we just
carbon neutral.
echo everything that has been said so far, I think, by other towns and villages in Oxfordshire.
On the affordable, we can add in bits about community land trusts and cooperatives and stuff like that, because that's maybe a vehicle that they're not really looking at as a county. And if that can be a steer that they do take forward, you've almost got a whole section on cooperative living or something like that, that would be.
But you want imaginative ways of being able to deliver affordable housing without having to rely on large developers, maybe so heavily. Okay, is that? Do you think that that's enough to give you a steer to put something together? As councillor,
Are there
Arlen.
any more points? And I've got a couple of weeks.
Oh, that's what I was going to ask.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be right now, right this
No.
minute. So we could have a think and then email you or
Yeah,
if you have anything over the next few days that you'd like to add to that, then email Jodie and Jodie will put it together. Something that I'd like to add as well is if newspapers could please encourage the residents of Henley-on-Thames and parishes to actually go on and have a look at it for themselves, because those 30 years are going to come around pretty quickly, and 100,000 homes is the very first trajectory. That's an awful lot of homes in the next 30 years.
There are also nice little snippets for us to share on our Town Council Facebook. If you just share that, say the direct link to Oxfordshire affordable housing, right at the bottom, you can comment straight away. And Henley's got quite an active Facebook community. So I think if it's put on the community matters page and a few of the other more politically active pages, I think we'll probably get quite good discussion on those. It could be quite good because the way they've set it up is very quick to comment straight away with Facebook. And that's a medium.
Yes.
Is there the existing comments that have already been made available on there?
Yeah, so like this, as you just scroll down on affordable housing, you can look at what the previous, the last page is on 47 comments on brownfield site developments. You can already read what has been.
Thank you. Okay, let's move on, councillors, to the next item on the agenda, which is to consider the appeal response for the appeal against refusal. And this is for 47 Hoxton Road. Jodie, do you have any comments first of all for us, or would you like councillors to give you a guide first?
It looks like you recommended approval for this.
And SOD, no.
Oh, really?
Well, yes, I think we recommended approval. SODC refused it.
Right, okay.
But we still have to, well, we can either make no comment.
Unless your opinion or your comments have
And I
changed.
think to be, obviously it's difficult for SODC. When I go over there, we get them turned down, although they've got officers' recommendation for approval. The officer still, another officer still has to write to the DOE with reasons for refusal. I think as we were a town council that support the application, I think we could probably just put no comment and leave it to SODC.
I agree with you on that, but what were the comments that SOD, why did SODC?
It was to do with the door.
Design, scale, and position of the dormer in relation to the conservation area.
So and leave it to SABC to fight it.
Yeah, are we all happy with that, councillors?
Yeah, they forwarded it quite well in there, and Bill, they highlighted the fact that the dormer, like we said, is in keeping with the existing prevalence of dormers already in town. So they've got quite a good deal already locked themselves.
Thank you. Jodie, can I send something? Well, that was quite a while ago.
I do, I think it just missed this agenda.
Right, we'll have another one on the agenda next time. Okay, councillors, thank you. Let's move on to number 11, which is the progress report for applications called in on page 19. Do we have any updates and comments?
Yep.
Yes.
First one, 16 Reading Road, we had a site visit yesterday, that's going to committee. Tomorrow night. Be careful what I say, but it was amazing what we saw. I can understand why the town council refused it. Anyway, I'll say no more. I'll leave my comments for tomorrow evening.
Yeah.
1110 side, that's gone to appeal, but we will still have to make a comment on that. So whatever the decision is tomorrow night, that was just another site visit yesterday. So whatever decision we make, be it approved or not, that comment will go to the appeal.
Yeah,
So even
I
if
understand.
we were to recommend approval, that would still have to go to the appeal for some reason. I spoke to the plan officer on the car park Station Road for Premier Inn. They got quite a few questions gone back to them, which they need to respond to. So there's nothing imminent at the moment going on that one.
I've spoken to the officer as well.
Okay. Other than that, yeah, nothing like that.
Thank you. Right, let's move on to the last item on the agenda then, which is item number 12, which is the planning committee progress report. I think we can have a refresh on this one. It's looking a bit, yeah, Councillor Gavshak, have you got any updates on the road schemes?
Sorry.
The last one is dated 31st of August.
Well, Gravel Hill is due to go in. The Marlow Road, we've approved the £3,000 to do the study for costings, so that will come back to us. So they're progressing. I did send a comment through to Jodie and Kath today about the Marlow Road one. Is this new mast in the position where the crossing is going to go? I've alerted the OCC officer as well.
Yeah.
I'm pretty certain it is, so therefore that will have to go into the mix as well. Yeah, I hadn't spotted that.
That was the last thing we refused.
We refused it.
But mobile phone companies have wide ranging powers.
Yeah.
So I've alerted OCC, John Beals, and he will make representations on that. Because of course, if you've got a mobile phone mast, you can't land a zebra crossing, so a pelican crossing. Yeah.
I'll get in touch with us.
Do you want to add that in then?
Do you want to add that in?
Yes, please. Yeah. Yes.
Okay, let's keep the station car park in there for now, but we all know what the status is there. And training for councillors, are there any, I know you've been so busy with the neighbourhood plan. Should we try and get a target date on it?
Next spring.
2022. Hey, wait, 2025 will new council sit around June.
Providing an SPD, like a planning document to provide guidance on how to interpret the policies, but they haven't done that yet. So once
So until we get that, we can't really do anything ourselves, can we? Okay. Right, okay, I think that's concludes the evening. Many thanks for your contributions, councillors.